What's up everybody, Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we're going to be talking about the newest character in the game, Yserinde. She is a phenomenal support character that is doing a tremendous amount of things for your team, coming in an unparalleled way honestly, and doing some pretty unique and fun things too. So let's get right into it. First we're going to take a look at her trait, Will of Blood Plume. She gains a jump and unyielding, and then gains deflection when triggering resolve. Deflection is really weird because it's read as body protection. Regardless, jump is really nice. It triples that character's jump power. Unyielding, we know what this is. We've seen this dozens of times. And then deflection, of course, is a buff for the next instance of damage or piercing damage taken is reduced by 50%, removed after taking damage. So that's a 50% damage reduction, and that is absolutely massive. So really nice stuff. The character can jump over other allies, enemies, and neutral characters and items. That's awesome. That's something we haven't seen on anyone other than Miguel, so that's really big. And then when using a basic attack, you can attack adjacent enemies. That's interesting. And then all enemies in battle are affected by Ever Feather Aura. So this basically is going to make it so that your Black Feather, which we've seen on Nydia, as it's even listed right here, will no longer be shed. So Black Feather effect possessed will not be consumed. It will stay on. Really interesting. Good stuff there. And then she gains additional skill, Plume Stratagem. And at the start of the turn, the next use of this skill becomes an instant and costs no energy with a 3-turn cooldown. Really good stuff. Not done yet though. It increases their defense by 10%, adds 10% of the character's physical defense to attack, and then reduces damage taken or piercing damage taken by 40% when deflection takes effect. Really good stuff. She is strong. She's doing a lot. Really interesting. This is a character that honestly offers a lot of different diversity and utility. And so let's take a look at the star levels. So at 2 stars, we see we get a nice little increase up to 15% in that defense. And of course, adding 15% of her physical defense to her attack. And then of course, that damage reduction remains the same. And then at 3 stars, we see that now she adds 20% of her physical defense to the attack. And then of course, now she's reducing the damage taken from piercing damage by 50% when deflection takes effect. Yeah. And then when Blood Plume Blade is triggered and consumed, the character recovers 1 energy. That's really massive. That's a good breakpoint, a great breakpoint, in fact. And then at 4 stars, we see that now she's getting 25% boost to her defense, with 25% being pulled from that defense to be added to her attack. And then we get the rest of the same effects. It changes a little bit down here with that Blood Plume Blade. And so now when the character has endless web, which is an aura she gets, we'll talk about that in a little bit, additionally increases the piercing damage and damage over time dealt by 10%. That's massive. It's really good. Now down here you can see at 5 stars it kind of all just goes ham. Her defense is increased by 40%. She adds 30% of physical defense to attack and reduces the damage taken or piercing damage taken by 60% when deflection takes effect. And then that Blood Plume Blade is triggered or consumed. She gets that 1 energy still, but when the character has endless web, now that piercing damage and damage over time dealt is increased by 25%. Really big stuff right there. So this is a character that, in my opinion, does benefit pretty well from her 5-star, as all characters do, but I don't think she really needs her 5-star to go crazy. I think you can stop at 4-star and feel pretty good about it and getting a nice little boost. However, if you're going the full distance and you want that extra damage over time, by all means have at it and go to that 5-star level. But 4-star I think is a great stopping point. You can even get away at 3-star when you get the energy back and stopping there. But the extra damage over time is alluring to me, and I really like it. Plus that boost from 25 to 25 from 15 is really big. So 4-star is where I'd suggest her. 5-star is absolutely where she is best, obviously. With that said, let's take a look at the skills and abilities. And so down here, this is her innate ability, Feather Storm. its piercing damage, and it selects one location and deals piercing damage equal to 50% of her physical attack to all enemies within 1 tile of the target. This effect is considered to be as triggering a blood plume blade. So definitely nice. Good little piercing damage AoE. It does 50% of her physical attack. Really, really good stuff there. Love it, in fact. Now let's take a look at the ranks. And so I spent a Castalia in rank 1. I really wanted this ability on the right. I don't suggest you to do that unless you just absolutely want it and you want to mess around with it, which is right here, Phantom Shift. This is a decision where you select to use Phantom Falling Star or Phantom Swift Feather. After using either skill, it makes the next use of Plume stratagem become an instant and costs no energy, which is really nice. And of course, this Falling Feather is an instant, selects one Blood Plume blade and teleports to that position. And then the other one is Swift Feather, which selects a target and swaps positions and grants deflection to that target if it is an ally. Really nice. So a lot of maneuverability and utility in this, and that you can change positions with different targets. It's really, really nice. I really wanted it for that reason, and I have enjoyed playing with it, but I don't think it's something that's essential on her at all. And then of course on the left is what I'd suggest you to pick up, and this is what I use more often. This is Royal Guard Escort. It's a passive. After any ally triggers Blood Plume Blade, Yserinde grants them Armor of Ice extra for 2 turns, and then grants them deflection and move again. Really, really big stuff right there. And so as you can see right here, that extra ice is a physical shield of 30%, which we've seen that's normal. Immunity to frost, cool. And then after being hit by a melee attack, it inflicts move down 1 on the opponent for 2 turns. And then this state can be considered as Armor of Ice. It's really nice, really good stuff right there. Powerful. We absolutely love it. And then moving on, when casting Bloom Array or triggering Bloom Rend, allies with deflection are considered to have as having Blood Plume Blade. And so that's a really interesting thing right there, which that Plume Rend is, let's read that. It's a skill. After placing triggering 4 Blood Plume Blades, deals piercing damage equal to 50% of physical attack to all enemies within 2 tiles of the Plume Blade or having Black Feather. Really cool stuff. And then of course, like it says, it can be considered as such. And then yeah, when detecting whether Blood Plume Bloom exists within a specific range, if there are allies within deflection, the condition is met. Interesting stuff. And then Plume Array, we got to read that. Skill instant grants all allies in battle damage reduction 2 for 2 turns. If Blood Plume Blade exists within 2 tiles of the target, there are enemies with Black Feather. It additionally grants them deflection. She's got so much in her kit. Like, it's mind-boggling how much is going on here. Anyways, up here at rank 3, you have Perfect Shield. It's a passive. When unharmed, it increases your attack and defense by 10%. That's cool, nothing wrong with that, but what you really want is on the left, and that is Black Feather Field. And so it really doesn't make a difference which one you get. I just found that this was more useful, and so is what I went with. There's nothing wrong with going Perfect Shield, by the way. But anyways, all allies within 3 tiles of the character take 15% reduced damage and piercing damage when having deflection, which they're gonna have. Really good stuff. Absolutely love it. She's making everybody around her safer and more hardy in that way. Really interesting to see a Seeker tank in this way. So moving up to rank 5, we have Counterattack. We've seen this 100 times. Nothing wrong with this. However, I suggest you get what's on the left, which is Silent Wing. This is a reaction. After the character's deflection triggers, it dispels 1 debuff from the character and gains Armor of Ice extra for 2 turns, which we've seen what that does, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Really good stuff right there, and I think I'd highly suggest you pick this up. This is something I very, very much was happy to have. Up here at rank 7, you have Invulnerable. We've seen this on other characters. This is a normal tank ability where you get that damage reduction 4, Mind's Eye, and immunity to disrupt. Really interesting to see here. Really good stuff. It's really clear how we're supposed to be playing her and what she's supposed to do for everybody. But I would suggest you get what's on the right, which is that Plume Rend. This is a passive. When placing or triggering 4 Blood Plume Blades, it deals piercing damage equal to 50% physical attack to all enemies within 2 tiles of Blood Plume Blade or having black feather. This effect is considered triggering Blood Plume Blade, but does not count towards the skill's trigger count. Like I said, we read this earlier. Really good stuff, decent ability. It's a passive. Get it for free. Absolutely love it. Pick it up, get it. You'll be happy with it. Up here at rank 9, you get your basic attacks. Surefire attacks on the right. I don't suggest getting this. This basically inflicts no dodge on the target, and yeah, that's pretty niche. Not to say it's bad, it's just niche in its utility in comparison to Hypnotic Attack, which is any and all targets that aren't immune to sleep, which is less niche in my opinion. Mind you, there's only a 30% chance of proccing that sleep. It's still a thing, and it's nice. It's what I'd suggest you to get. And then up here at rank 11, you have Plume Array. This is an instant, grants all allies in battle that damage reduction 2. We read this earlier, but I'm going to read it again. If Blood Plume Blade exists within 2 tiles of the target, or there are enemies with black feather, additionally grants them deflection. This seems like a wonderful ability. Haven't used it on paper. In theory, it looks fantastic, and I'd highly suggest get it. I'm starting to want to kind of conserve my Castalia, so I didn't jump on it. But I am interested in this when I get a few more Castalia. I'm going to backtrack and pick this up, play around with it. Looks like a decent ability. What I did enjoy having is right over here, that Endless Web. And this is a 4 energy cost, no cooldown, but it does lock you out of it after use. It triggers an aura. We're going to read about it. It's a support. It locks onto 3 of the closest enemies within 6 tiles of the character and places 1 Blood Plume Blade on an adjacent empty tile. With insufficient targets, the effect changes to be placing 3 Blood Plume Blades on an adjacent empty tile of one of the closest enemies. After casting the skill, the character gains Endless Web Aura until the start of the next 3 turns. The skill cannot be cast again when having this aura. There it is right there. So even though there's no cooldown reduction on this, you're going to be hard locked out of this when you have this aura active. And so that aura is before all allies attack. If they have deflection or the target has black feather, it increases their damage, piercing damage, and damage over time effects by 15% and can generate 30% lifesteal. These effects last until the start of the next turn. Really good stuff. There's an additional effect for Union. Additionally grants all the Union allies Endless Web Frost effect after attacking. If they have physical shield of 30% or more HP, it inflicts minor frostbite for 1 turn, limited to 1 time per enemy per round. And of course that minor frostbite is a life loss of 15% of the caster's physical and magical attack. Really good stuff. Really interesting. This is what I'd highly suggest you to pick up. For her, that Endless Web, absolutely loved it. Next, let's talk about the builds. And so for her, I have 2 builds I'd suggest. Number 1 being physical attack. Let's just say it. She scales off defense, I know, but I like to build her just straight physical attack. It all kind of comes out in the wash as same but different, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And so for our basic attack, of course, we're using that Hypnotic Attack. We got Silent Wing as a reaction, Endless Web, Plume Rend, and then that Royal Guard Escort is what we're rolling there on her skills. We are using the Newborn Blade. We have prioritized physical attack as the resonance and what we want to pick up with a little bit of HP in there as well. And then for the trinket, we are using her Crimson Quill. Absolutely love it. It is a phenomenal trinket. If you don't have that, by all means, throw that Shield of Justice on there. This is a fantastic item on her, obviously, but everybody wants it, so it's really tough to get enough of these to satisfy everybody's needs. So her signature is best in slot, in my opinion, and what I have seen through the numbers and testing and how she plays. And with that said, we want that Sword and Wand Resonance. We want that because we want to scale up her attack and defense, and she's going to be moving around and have lots of mobility. And of course that gets up to 12% the more she moves. And then for that Terror Whisper, I absolutely love the Hangman's Dedication on her with that extra effect. Now we did target some physical attack percentage in here with HP. If you go for defense, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It all comes out to be fairly similar. I just went straight physical attack personally, and so that was my preference on her. With that said, let's take a look at an alternative setup, the defensive setup. And so here we are with the defensive setup. As you can see, her defense actually came out to be a little bit lower you know, and this isn't like min-max to be perfect on these stats and whatnot. We borrowed some equipment from some other characters, but her power overall is higher with this setup. We are running that same basic attack, hypnotic attack, silent wing, endless web again, phantom shift is what we roll here because we absolutely love having that extra mobility and getting those extra blade plumes out there. Whatever, blood plume blade. That's it. Blood plume. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a mouthful. It's a tongue twister. But anyways, and then of course that Royal Guard escort holds its place still. We're just switching out for that phantom shift. Now we have picked up nocturnal glow here because we want to buff our allies, and of course we're benefiting from that attack and defense up right there. And then we want to absolutely give some wonderful buffs and then shed some debuffs, making her a little more of a utility character. As I said, look at these stats are not optimal right here. And then of course for the trinket, we are still rocking that Crimson Quill. Of course, Shield of Justice is the alternative, but I do think Crimson Quill is her best in slot. We did go with a wand and Pentacle Resonance because we want to shed physical damage. We're going to be putting her in harm's way. We want her to be a little bit more bulky and to shed that damage a little bit better. And so that's what I chose for this run, this configuration. And then for the Terror Whisper, Temptation of the Devil, because we are going to be scaling up that attack and defense with each kill. And so that's really, really big for her. And as you can see, we've targeted physical attack and we've got some HP and whatnot. Defense, there's nothing wrong if you want to target that. I'd rather go for HP than defense. I know she scales off defense. Throw it in there, benefit from it. But I felt that she did better if I just went straight for physical attack as far as dealing the damage and whatnot. It's not too often you're really worried about being able to absorb and take the hits. And honestly, what she's doing with that Armor of Frost extra, in the deflection, she's shedding damage just fine otherwise. So, with all that said, let's take a look at her in battle. So here we are. Trial of Strength. I thought it'd be fun to do this. Just a 3-man. Camelot, Nydia, and Yserinde. Instantly take out that back slime, which moves all those enemies over. And we get into the crowd for the AoE goodness with Camelot. We're going to boost up the speed a little bit. Of course, he does everything that you know he does. Lots of AoE, great damage, great stuff. The problem you have with this fight, especially with less than 5, is surviving everything. Such as big AoEs from the big bad guy over there, the bow. And so Yserinde comes over, and there we go. That web. We lay out more daggers, or blood plume blades. That's the one. I said it, I did it. And then PvP. And then Nydia comes over and starts laying them out. Absolutely love it. Lots of good damage there, and of course we get the hills afterwards. Takes damage, Weeds of Mine, triggers his act again. And the slime gets a hit in, which slime is what hit the hardest. Just gonna kill those, get rid of them. No worries. We get the dagger down and ahead of them spawning so that when they spawn, they trigger it instantly. And of course, knowing what they're going to do, predicting our enemies with this bad AI that they have, we're able to set those daggers and get everything ready and know what we're doing. Love it. Setting up dagger, which triggers that effect. Step into the dagger, triggering that effect, and get a basic attack off, and move over and end our turn. Teleport Camelot out of trouble, and then Nydia goes in with her AoEs. This is our physical attack build. This is not our defensive build on Yserinde. Just a heads up. But yeah. Definitely a little bit lengthy as they keep spawning and coming in. As you can see, she does a fantastic job of just tanking all that. She's not fussed at all. Walk over, pick that up. You get a nice little cooldown reduction. Get everything reset, I mean to say. And just clean these slimes up real quick. Another dagger down because we know where they're going to go. Blood Plume Blade. Getting good at it. Blood Plume Blade. And there they are. Go pick that up so he gets that deflection. And that extra ice armor, ice armor extra. And there we go. Setting our web again. Look at the daggers fly. Walk over. We want the deflection. We trigger the effect. Everything's going so good right here. Tons of damage. You love it. You love to see it. Yep, damage count just keeps going. Beautiful stuff. And then the heals. Big hits, we don't mind. Triggers his act again on Camelot. Take him out. Kill this slime right here, and then just pass up on a turn. Let these slimes come a little closer. And we walk over and clear them out. So we want to get ready for this next group spawning in, which is what we do with that Blood Plume Blade. Nydia takes him out. Here comes another AoE from the Big Ben. And they spawn in just as we know they're gonna. Taking more of that beautiful damage. Resetting the cooldown on Camelot. He goes back in with another big AoE. Get some nice stuns. More AoE goodness. Absolutely love it. Set that Blood Plume Blade. Triggering the effect. Absolutely love it. Walk up, pick that up, triggering that, get the deflection. Keeping deflection on our allies is so important because we want to make sure we mitigate all the damage we can. These big AoEs that keep coming in. And then we fry all these guys. Beautiful. Here comes AoE. We shrug it off. There goes the Blood Plume Blade. Reset all of our skills. Step out of the trouble. Absolutely perfect. Back in with the AoE on Camelot. Reset the skills. Here comes another one of the webs. Absolutely love it. Setting all of these Blood Plume Blades, getting them all ready for everything that could possibly happen. It's just so good. It benefits your allies, it hurts your enemies. Yserinde is a ton of fun. This is a great character. Far less straightforward than Camelot and a ton more fun in my opinion. Camelot still is a lot of fun. And there you have it. That is Yserinde. That is how she plays, how you can play her, what utilities she can have, what she can do for your team. Man, she is absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about her. And so that's going to put her rating at a 6.5 in physical damage, a 28.5 in tanking, a 2 in healing, 0 magic damage, a 4.5 in buffs, a 8 in debuffs, a 20 in utility, bringing her total to a 69.5. That's right, you read that. Tanking 28.5. You gotta think every time she's applying deflection out, which is multiple times in lots of different ways, she's giving a 50% damage reduction. That's massive. Absolutely massive. She's granting physical shields on top of that. Absolutely huge. And she's able to do it as an instant cast and then cast it again even. She's got multiple ways to cast it instantly. She's bonkers. She's got so many ways to mitigate damage and to get your team through some tough spots and make them far more survivable. And then the utility that comes in behind it at 20 points is not a joke. She's able to move people, move herself, trigger all kinds of extra effects. She's absolutely phenomenal. Busted. Busted. Clearly a tier 0 character at 69.5 in her total rating. She is phenomenal. You can absolutely feel safe pulling this character. I cannot fathom we'll have another one like her at all. She will absolutely have tons of utility, probably until this game doesn't play anymore. I don't know how to phrase that, but for a long time. Forever. Let's just say forever. Forever. So feel confident pulling her. She's going to be great. So there it is. That is my Yserinde guide. I hope that it is a benefit to you and it is helpful. Let's take a moment and say thank you to my Patreon members, you guys and gals, my soldiers, just supporting the cause, representing in the soul army, making them soldiers. You guys and gals are the ones that allow me to make the pulls, create the content, and make sure that I get all the materials and whatnot to get all of this out. So thank you so much for your support. If you too would like to support, make sure you check the link out down below for our Patreon, where we also have a link for our Discord where we talk all things Sword of Convallaria and then some. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Bye.